For every Max Verstappen or Lewis Hamilton, there's a shadow, a name buried under what ifs, blown chances, and shattered dreams. Guys who had the talent to be legends, but either the pressure broke them, the system swallowed them, or they self-destructed spectacularly. Let's start with Romain Grosjean, because this one still stings. When he was on, he was blistering. You could see it at Lotus in 2013, 6 podiums in the last 8 races. He pushed Kimi Räikkönen to the edge and at one point looked like he could be the future of the team. At the 2013 US Grand Prix, he even beat both Red Bulls on merit. But for every flash of brilliance, there was chaos. Like Spa 2012, a reckless move at turn 1 took out Hamilton, Alonso, and half the grid. He got slapped with a race ban the first in F1 in almost 2 decades. It wasn't just mistakes, it was mindset. Under pressure, Grosjean's rhythm broke. At Haas, he spun under safety car, lost it on formation laps. At one point in 2018, he went 12 races without scoring a single point, while his teammate thrived in the same car. He ended his F1 career with 179 race starts, 10 podiums, and 0 wins. But the stat that sticks, 92 crashes in F1. That's almost one every other race. The irony? His final act, the terrifying fireball crash in Bahrain 2020, became the moment he finally won everyone's respect. He survived what looked unsurvivable, but by then, the talent everyone once believed in was already gone. Now, flip the script. Because Pastor Maldonado did something Grosjean never did, win a race. Barcelona 2012. He beat Fernando Alonso in a Ferrari on raw pace. First win for Williams in 8 years. A flawless drive. And yet, Maldonado became a punchline. Crash tour Maldonado. For good reason. In just 95 race starts, he racked up over 60 incidents. From pit lane collisions to spinning and qualifying to destroying his own teammate's race, it was relentless. In 2014, he crashed on the first lap 6 times in a single season. And still, he had backing. PDVSA, Venezuela's state oil company, pumped $46 million per year to keep him in a seat. That cash bought time, but not credibility. He wasn't slow. He just couldn't stop tripping over his own ambition. The kind of driver who thought every gap was wide enough until carbon fiber started flying. He left F1 with 1 win, 0 podiums after it, and a legacy of frustration. A glimpse of greatness wrapped in wreckage. And then there's the quiet one, Heikki Kovalainen, the one who had a seat next to Hamilton at McLaren. That's how good people thought he could be. He had pace, even beat Räikkönen and Fisichella in junior categories, won the 2008 Hungarian Grand Prix. But when it mattered most, he shrank. In 2008, he scored just 53 points to Hamilton's 98. In 2009, just 22 points to Hamilton's 49th. Same car, same tools, but Heikki couldn't match the fire. Ron Dennis called him a good team player, which in F1 speak means he's not championship material. After McLaren, his career spiraled into the lower midfield Lotus, then Caterham, from frontrunner to backmarker in under 3 seasons. He had 1 win, 1 pole, 1 fastest lap, and yet no one remembers them. Because in a sport defined by pressure, Heikki played too safe. When F1 demanded ruthlessness, he delivered reliability, and that's never enough. Then came Sebastian Bourdais, a 4-time Champ Car champion. Dominated the US scene, beat everyone. Expectations were sky high when Toro Rosso brought him in for 2008, but F1 exposed him badly. In 2008, his teammate was a 21-year-old Sebastian Vettel, and Bourdais got demolished. Same car, same conditions, Vettel scored 35 points and a win in Monza. Bourdais? Just 4 points. In 2009, he lasted only 9 races before Toro Rosso kicked him out. His F1 stats? 27 races, 0 podiums, 6 points, and 1 giant missed opportunity. He returned to IndyCar where he thrived again, but in F1, he looked completely lost. A driver who couldn't translate dominance from one world into survival in another. Because this sport doesn't care how good you used to be. It only cares what you do on Saturday and what you deliver on Sunday. 4 names. 4 drivers with all the ingredients. Speed, success, opportunity, but none of them stood on the top step when it counted most. None of them cemented a legacy, and the worst part? We all saw it coming. These weren't dark horses, these were favorites, and they still blew it. Imagine getting into Formula 1 with the best junior record, a famous last name, elite sponsorship, and a factory team seat waiting. Sounds like the golden ticket, right? Except these guys had that and still blew it. Let's talk about Nelson Piquet Jr., son of a 3-time world champion, runner-up in GP2. And in 2008, he walked straight into Renault, partnered with none other than Fernando Alonso. And for a moment, it looked like it might work. He grabbed a podium at Hockenheim, managed some clever overtakes. But behind the scenes, Renault was already unraveling. And then came Singapore. It's one of the darkest chapters in F1 history. Under team instruction allegedly from Flavio Briatore and Pat Simons-Piquet, deliberately crashed on lap 14 to bring out a safety car that handed Alonso the win. Let that sink in. He crashed his own car on purpose at 280 kilometers per hour, with fuel, with walls, with other cars at full speed behind him. He risked everything, not for victory, but to play puppet for the team's master plan. It worked. Alonso won. But a year later, the secret came out. By that time, Renault had already dropped Piquet for underperforming just 19 points across 28 races, and in retaliation, he blew the whistle. Yes, he exposed corruption, but he was also complicit, and in F1, there's no coming back from something like that. Even though he was cleared legally, the paddock never forgave him. He wasn't seen as brave, he was seen as weak. Manipulated, disposable. One of the most privileged F1 debuts in modern memory, erased by a single wall hit, and the decision to stay silent until it served him. From legacy name to blacklisted in under 2 years. Then there's Esteban Gutierrez, a driver whose career is a lesson in how money can get you the drive, but not the results. Backed by Telmex and Carlos Slim, one of the richest men on earth, Gutierrez entered F1 with Sauber in 2013. He was fast in GP3, won the title, showed sparks in GP2, but in Formula 1? He completely disappeared. Across 59 race starts, Esteban scored points only once 7th in Japan, 2013. That's it. And it wasn't like the cars were useless. Nico Hülkenberg was his teammate at Sauber, driving the same machine and regularly finishing in the top 10. At Haas, things got worse. He was paired with Romain Grosjean and got crushed. In 2016, Grosjean scored 29 points. Esteban, 0. Race after race, Esteban would qualify poorly, vanish in the midfield, and only show up in post-race penalties or blue flags. It wasn't just about being slow, he lacked presence, aggression, racecraft. He was the kind of driver who'd spend 40 laps staring at the back of a Williams without even trying a move. He had one of the strongest commercial packages on the grid, a direct link to Ferrari, and still couldn't do anything with it. You look at his numbers: 0 wins, 0 podiums, 0 fastest laps, 6 DNFs, and you start wondering, what did he actually do in Formula 1? Even now, when you mention Gutierrez to F1 fans, most just say, oh yeah, that guy was in F1 once, right? And that, right there, is the tragedy. Now let's get into Vitaly Petrov, Russia's first F1 driver, a moment of national pride. He entered F1 in 2010 with Renault and made headlines for one thing: Abu Dhabi 2010. That race was huge. Sebastian Vettel was fighting Alonso for the title. And guess who held off Alonso for 40 laps? Petrov. That defense arguably won Vettel his first world championship. It was textbook racecraft. Calm, measured, perfect braking. He didn't crack under relentless pressure, but that was the high point. In the 2 seasons that followed, Petrov never stepped up. He scored a podium in Australia 2011, impressive, but consistency was his enemy. He crashed out often. Couldn't keep pace with teammates like Heidfeld or Kimi. He ended 2011 with 37 points, while Alonso finished with 257. When Renault became Lotus, Petrov was quietly pushed out, replaced by Romain Grosjean. His final season was with Caterham in 2012. A backmarker team, no points, no future. He disappeared after that, not with disgrace, but with indifference. For a driver who could have launched a motorsport revolution in Russia, Petrov just didn't grab the opportunity hard enough. And in F1, if you don't fight for your seat, someone else will. Then we have Jean-Éric Vergne, a name you probably hear more now in Formula E than you ever did in F1, and that says a lot. Vergne had serious junior pedigree. Formula Renault 3.5 vice champion, Red Bull junior driver, and more raw talent than some of the guys Red Bull kept. He joined Toro Rosso in 2012 and raced 3 full seasons. He was quick, outqualified Ricciardo 13-6 in 2012, beat Kvyat in 2014, yet he got dropped. Not for performance, but because a teenager named Max Verstappen was coming. Red Bull needed to make room, so they axed Vergne. He never got a real second shot. His F1 stats: 58 races, 51 points, a best finish of 6th, and gone. But in Formula E, he became a 2-time champion, so it clearly wasn't about talent. The truth? Vergne was a casualty of timing, a driver who came into F1 just a few years too early. Had he arrived in the Verstappen era, he'd probably be a race winner, maybe more. But history only remembers who gets there, not who almost did. And then there's Jarno Trulli. Let's be clear, Trulli wasn't forgotten. He was loved, especially by fans who admired qualifying pace. In his prime, Trulli was ridiculous over 1 lap, beat Alonso in Saturday shootouts, dragged Jordan and Toyota cars into positions they didn't belong. In Monaco 2004, he did the unthinkable pole, led every lap, and won. That was his only win in 256 Grand Prix starts. It's almost cruel. He had podiums, 11 of them, fastest laps, mega duels with Schumacher, Coulthard, Hakkinen. But in races, he often struggled with tire wear, pace consistency, or just plain misfortune. They even coined the term Trulli train, when Jarno would qualify high and create a rolling roadblock on race day because his pace dropped off fast. Toyota gave him 6 full seasons, but in all that time, they never trusted him as a title spearhead. He was a brilliant number 2, a spectacular technician, but not the guy you give the keys to the castle. By the time he joined the backmarker Lotus in 2010, it was more of a farewell tour than a comeback. And the most frustrating part? He had the speed. But Sundays weren't kind to him. In a different era, in a different car, Trulli could have been a multiple race winner, maybe a contender. But the planets never aligned. So here's what you've got. 5 drivers, each with a golden path, a famous name, elite backing, factory teams, early hype, global spotlight, and yet each story ends with the same line. Could have been something, weren't. Whether it was pressure, timing, inconsistency, or just plain bad luck, they let it slip. They were handed the dream, but F1 doesn't care how you got here, only what you do when you arrive. At this point, you've seen it all. The untapped talent, the silver spoon disasters, the guys who never got going. But this is different. These are the stories of drivers who made it, who stood on the podium, who beat the best. Some even won races. One even won the whole damn championship. And still, somehow, they lost it all. Let's begin with Robert Kubica. He wasn't just fast, he was electric. In 2008, he took pole in Bahrain, then won in Canada clean, dominant, clever. At one point mid-season, he was leading the championship ahead of Hamilton and Raikkonen. He ended 2008 with 75 points, 3 podiums, 5th in the standings, in a BMW. And yet, he never got that title shot. In 2011, just as he was negotiating a future move to Ferrari, Kubica entered a minor rally in Italy. A crash with a metal guardrail tore through the car and almost amputated his right arm. Multiple surgeries, months in the hospital, years of rehabilitation, and then a miracle. In 2019, 8 years after that crash, he came back, with Williams, a team stuck at the back. But for Robert, it was symbolic. He finished that year with just 1 point, courtesy of penalties to others. His rookie teammate George Russell beat him in every qualifying session. But honestly, it didn't matter, because by the time Kubica returned, his hands still didn't fully function. Steering, gear shifts, fine corrections, all compromised. He was never the same. Kubica had the potential to be the next great champion from Poland. Instead, he became the greatest what-if of his generation. Not because of his choices, but because fate slammed the door shut just before he was about to kick it open. Now let's talk about Daniil Kvyat, the Red Bull case study in how not to handle a rising star. In 2014, he debuted with Toro Rosso. He was 19, young, fearless, sharp in qualifying. Red Bull loved the attitude. They promoted him after 1 season. In 2015, he replaced Sebastian Vettel at Red Bull Racing. No pressure, right? And to be fair, he actually outscored Ricciardo that year, finished 7th in the standings, took a podium in Hungary. Everything looked on track. Then 2016, the Russian Grand Prix. He hit Vettel once on lap 1, then again, seconds later. Race ruined, headlines everywhere. 2 weeks later, Red Bull dropped the hammer. Kvyat was demoted back to Toro Rosso mid-season, replaced by a teenager named Max Verstappen, who no big deal won his first race at Barcelona in that very car. From that moment, Kvyat was toast. He tried to hang on, but confidence? Gone. He spun more, overdrove, collided. In 2017, Red Bull cut him altogether. He made a brief return in 2019 to 2020, even scored a podium at Hockenheim in that wild wet race. But it wasn't enough. Daniil finished his career with 110 starts, 3 podiums, 202 career points, and a legacy of being the guy Max replaced. In F1, timing is everything, and his just never clicked. Then comes Nick Heidfeld, Mr. Consistency. Let the numbers speak. 183 race starts, 13 podiums, 1 pole, 0 wins. That makes him the most experienced F1 driver to never win a Grand Prix. He wasn't flashy, but he was efficient, quick over 1 lap, smart in strategy calls. He outscored Raikkonen at Sauber, went toe-to-toe with Kubica at BMW. In 2007, he finished 5th in the championship, beat teammate Vettel in qualifying, and still he never got the nod from a top-tier team. The frustrating part? He wasn't just unlucky, he was too reliable. Teams didn't see a potential world champion. They saw a great number 2, the guy you build a car around but never for. Heidfeld's career became a cautionary tale about playing it too safe in a sport built for killers. You win hearts by being smart, but you win titles by being ruthless. Now for the man who never played it safe, Jean Alesi. He was born to be Ferrari's savior. The aggression, the charisma, the fan base, everything about him screamed world champion. In 1990, both Williams and Ferrari offered him a contract. Williams had the faster car. Alesi picked Ferrari. Romantic? Sure. Smart? Not even close. Between 1991 and 1995, Ferrari was a mess. Mechanical failures, bad strategies, underpowered engines. Alesi drove his heart out anyway, and finally in Canada, 1995 he won, his only win in 201 Grand Prix starts. He stood on the podium 32 times, but every year the same heartbreak. A car not fast enough or bad luck at the worst time. The what-ifs around Alesi are maddening. Had he joined Williams, he would have had the 1992 championship winning car. He could have been Prost's successor, but he chose loyalty over logic and it cost him immortality. He didn't blow it by crashing. He blew it with one decision, one contract. That's all it takes in F1. But if you want the ultimate example of throwing it away, Jacques Villeneuve. He's the only one on this list who actually won the championship. 1997, Williams-Renault. He beat Schumacher, took 4 wins, 8 podiums, outqualified everyone, controlled races like a veteran. His debut season in 1996, second place in the standings. He was the heir to his father's legacy, and then he detonated his own career. He left Williams a proven team to join Bayard, a brand new outfit with 0 experience. The paycheck was massive, but the results disastrous. Over 5 years at Bar, Villeneuve scored 0 wins and just 4 podiums. He started clashing with management, criticized teammates publicly, insulted rookies like Button and Massa, grew a beard, cut his hair, grew it again, gave more interviews than lap times. By 2006, he was out of F1. 182 starts, 11 wins, 23 podiums, 1 world title, and a post-career reputation as someone who talks way more than he delivered. Villeneuve could have been a 2-time, even 3-time champion, but ego got in the way, and in Formula One, nothing derails greatness faster than thinking you're bigger than the sport. So here we are. This wasn't just about failure, it was about falling after climbing. Kubica robbed by fate, Kvyat broken by pressure, Heidfeld too cautious to conquer, Alesi loyal to the wrong dream. Villeneuve blinded by ego. All 5 moments of brilliance, all 5 capable of being legends. And yet, their names live in a different Hall of Fame now. Not the one with the trophies, but the one with the ghosts of what could have been.